What's up, FIFO episode 6? My man Sam Nang, we made it to episode 6. 5 episodes under the belt already, man.
Damn, we are mad productive. Six episodes already in, dude. The momentum keeps. We got to keep the momentum up, and we've been getting a lot of support from our high school friends, some of my communities, and some of Danny's communities as well too. So we're enjoying it, and thank everybody for the feedback and the love. That's really
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody. I appreciate it. We definitely, we're the whole message and mission around this, right? Is us literally figuring it out as we go and documenting it live, authentic. We still are figuring it the fuck out for ourselves. And all of you that are joining in and hopping in early, we really appreciate your support and the love. This is all part of the story, right? Is figuring out how we're doing this. And Sam Nang and I we don't talk much outside of this podcast, aside from like a couple random like Facebook message things. And like, I don't even have your number, you know?
yeah.
So
You my text message, and then dude, maybe next year I plan to go down to Florida around the wintertime. The wintertime in Virginia is brutal, dude.
oh, I know, dude. Yeah, you have to come. I mean, this is the guest bedroom, so you can stay in the headquarters here.
Yeah, we could
But
shoot guys together in the same studio and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah,
that'd be cool, man.
and I was just talking about it. I was like, so like sometimes we have like, especially with the pandemic and people working from home and people getting busy with their lives with like having kids and everything. I was like, this is how like adults make friends and stuff. It's like you video chat, video conference, coach each other, Zoom calls. It's like I'm saying, it's like probably some of the most efficient way to like connect with somebody now. Like you can see people faces and everything. So, I embracing technology and like business and stuff. I think it's something that you have to do. It's inevitable that things change so quick, and that's kind of like part of like what FIFO is like. Business, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, everything changes so quick, and us talking about it, you don't have to like. We're gonna talk about business a lot, money a lot, and as well too. So like my thought process is when I'm coaching people and I'm getting insight on people what they're struggling with is, for me it's like a lot of like mindset and a lot of like entrepreneurship, changing that mindset around it. So every day I wake up and thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? So that's how it is, man.
100%, man. And like, just to kind of recap, if you're just joining us, so Sam Nang and I hadn't communicated since high school, which was over 20 years ago. We're old now. And long story short, connected over social media. He was sharing personal development content. I was sharing like content about my story. We're both pretty vocal on social, and we got together for one Zoom call and was like, "Hey, I like what you're doing." And we're like, "Hey, maybe we should like do something in the future." And then literally the next time we connected, Sam Nang was like, "Hey, why don't we just record this and start the podcast?" And that's literally how it started. So if you go back to episode 1, that is literally our second time communicating since high school.
Yeah.
And so in fact, like we're no longer like strangers like we were. Like I definitely feel like we're becoming more friends in this process, but it is very authentic, right? So two guys, neither of us have ever started a podcast before. We're the whole mission and charter of what we're doing here is to like, and it's very synonymous with what you do in your line of work, and what I do is just jumping into it head first and just starting it and then figuring it out as we go, right? So it's funny because like we'll connect for like maybe 5 minutes before we start recording, and like even this morning I was like, hey man, like
Yeah, we're brainstorming.
like I'm trying to figure out this new program that I'm using. It's called Riverside. I'm like, maybe we got to figure this out and do this. I'm like, wait a second. Let's just record this. Like, that's the whole purpose. We're growing in public, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I think
and
that's
then,
part of my story is like to start sharing a lot of the struggles too, because I think sometimes people misconcept like when people show stuff on like social media, like you winning and like getting shredded and jacked and like being successful and stuff. But there's a lot of like back end stuff that like you don't see. And talking about this on the podcast and stuff, talking about some of the struggles, and kind of reframing how we see just like um, the setbacks in our life.
yeah, man, 100, dude, I say it all the time. It's so true. Like nobody gives a shit about your generalized life. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter. Like I thought, and I learned this firsthand, right? Like me and my family did this video, this vlog. We were on YouTube. You can still look it up, New Family Dream. My wife still runs that account. And like we thought we thought our value prop was like, oh, we're raising a family and traveling in an RV. That's the value prop alone.
Mm-hmm.
And where that has some intrigue, right? There's nobody cares. They don't care about that part of our life. They care about how that happened.
Mm.
They care about the trials and tribulations, right? And it's if I look back at all the videos that we produced, it's like 32 or something like that. The video that got the like I've spent 20 plus hours on like what I thought was our best video of us touring around Oregon and like all this dope scenes and like drone shots and like I was all proud of it. Got like a couple hundred views, right? The one that got the most views was me being like, hey, here's what not to do with a memory foam mattress, because we had a memory foam mattress that just filled with mold. And I cut it up and threw it out. And I talked about like, hey, we lesson learned. That got like 17,000 views and it still gets views. It got like a couple hundred comments. And I'm like, that's a try. That's like like a testament to it all, right? Where it's like, people care and the value that they get back is like the mistakes that you made and the things that you learn so they don't make those mistakes, right? And the steps that you took to get that life. I could be sitting here, we both could be sitting here as millionaires and be talking about how great our life is as millionaires and how we can just go buy whatever we want and no one's going to give a shit. But what they do care about is how did you become a millionaire,
Yeah.
right? That's what people care about and that's what they gravitate to, is that's the part of the story that has like the meat to it, right?
Yeah.
So I love that in the sense that that's what we're going to be sharing. And on that thread, we are releasing our podcast every Monday morning at 6 a.m. and then Fridays at 4,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know if you want to share about the concept of that, like why we selected those times.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, awesome, Danny. Thank you for sharing that. You always have some really good insight to share with our audience. That's why we make a good team. But yeah, so the Monday release is at 6 a.m. So if you guys are on your commute to work, you guys can pop listen to it, get some good insights, get some good woo woo going for the week. And then also too, it's a podcast, so you can always listen to it whenever you want. That's the great thing about technology. Is you have to be there. My live coaching calls, you don't have to be there. I record it like you guys are there. If nobody's there, I just archive it so you can watch it later. So it's like a podcast, but a classroom. And then on Friday, we're releasing it at 4 p.m. So the thought process on that is if you're doing the Monday to Friday, work schedule, and then when you're getting ready to leave work and stuff, you can listen to it on your commute home. The thought process is to inspire you and to generate some creativity on your ride home. And the thing is, like being like in personal development, the grind doesn't stop. So we have it on Friday, so you could go into the work weekend with a good mindset that like even if it's the weekend, don't rest. Do something that
Clock in on yourself, man.
that don't clock out. I think I saw that on one of your posts. It's like it's Friday, but be productive. It doesn't have to be like because I got a certain attention span. I can't work at a certain amount, but like even when I step away from work, it's still productive in a way. Even if I'm taking a nap or something. Like people think
Well, I
nap.
think it's so important, man. Like, and two, like, I think we all, I know I've been there and I know you've been there where you were clocking in and out for someone else. And like, like it's when you think about it and you break it down on time, right? And you're dedicating 5 days of mental bandwidth to another organization, another business, your day to day job. And then the weekend comes and you're like, oh, finally I can relax, mini vacation.
Yeah,
Like, that's where I'm like, wait a second, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because that's your chance to break free and to do you and to start to grow you, right?
yeah,
Um, so that's why I like say that, right? Like it's like clock in on yourself now. Like don't give up, and because if you just waste the weekend away, you get wasted, hang out with friends, whatever, drink, do the same old shit, sit on the couch. How is that moving the needle for you in your life? I mean, if you're happy with that, great. If you
yeah,
love your job, great. If you have no other aspirations outside of that, great. Like then do that, right? But I think a lot of us do want more. Like it's just inherent. It's part of our nature that we want more out of our lives. We want more out of our career. We want more for our family. We want more, right? And so if that is the case, if you do fall into that category, it's so important that you realize we really just do have a limited amount of time. And when we look at the amount of time that we dedicate to somebody else's business, something else of that nature, well, it leaves a very small window for us to focus in on what we need to do. And
Yeah.
it's not always the easiest thing to just say, screw it, I'm going to go do my own thing. There's a lot of risk involved with that, right?
Yeah.
But
I can talk about that, kind of helping reduce the risk and everything. But I do like what you just said, clock in on yourself. Yeah, I think it's a shift in mindset and how you see your time and how you trade it. And earlier in the podcast, I talked about this term that I learned myself because I was kind of confused in it, like because I was working in the corporate world, but also had this entrepreneurial mindset, this spirit of like creation and like putting stuff out there and like just learning new skills and stuff. And then somebody I was working with said that you have like a entrepreneur mindset. An entrepreneur, as in like if you're working like a 9 to 5, which that helps reduce a lot of the risk, like when you're ready to take that leap and everything, where you're actually learning the skills that you need to have when you do take a leap to go full-time employer on yourself or whatever, right? It could be an easy transition. It doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm jumping into the deep end or off the cliff right away. That's what I did. Like when I was starting to push really hard to building my brand and like everything is, I was still working a corporate job, but I was taking a lot of like projects that I knew in my head that I needed to do, like graphic design, marketing, um, sales, management, like all those skills do like eventually it will add up. It adds up if you have
yep.
that mindset. If you have that mindset of just going in, clocking out, and not really getting the value of what your employer it has right now, because they're a business as well too, right? Your current employer is a business, so you can model what they have or kind of embody it and everything, but just be changing that mindset of just being an employee versus like, hey, I'm part of this company, how can I help it grow, just in case when I need to take this skills and apply it to like my own company and stuff too. So that's a way that is less risky, where you're still getting a income, you still get the benefits and everything, but also you're picking up a ton of skills, right? If you shift that mindset, really big part of like business is just changing your mindset from, hey, I'm just trading my time for money, for actually like everything that I'm doing is an investment in myself. Whatever money I spend, whatever time I'm working on, I need to make myself more valuable. The more valuable you become, your content becomes more valuable. People, you become more skilled, and then you could just whatever it is, when you're like negotiating or your price or your salary and stuff, you could say, hey, this is what I'm worth because you built enough skills and enough value for people to pay that.
I love that, man. And like I think like even if you just like so if you whether it's an entrepreneur, right, which is basically standing up a small business arm, a revenue stream inside of an existing business, like you're talking about, or an entrepreneur where you're standing up a separate business, right? Both share something in common, and if I made it up, right, I call it like the preneur skill, right? Like what is the preneur skill?
Entrepreneurship.
And it's problem solving, right? So for me, when I first started running my own businesses, the problem that I needed to solve was very straightforward and simple. And it was I needed to make money.
Yeah.
That's it. I needed to sell something. So then I looked back at myself and I was like, well, what are my skill sets? Right. So I had video editing skills, I had marketing skills, and these types of like, graphic design. I kind of had a mixed bag of this digital marketing skill set. So I sold video editing skills. That's how I started. 25 bucks an hour, right? Solve that problem of making some money. And then you just continue to figure it out and grow from there. And the same rules apply on an entrepreneur, right? What problems can you solve for the business? The beauty, like you mentioned there, and the less risky part is you are getting paid to
Yeah.
do that kind of work, and I think most businesses really appreciate the entrepreneurs because the business owners And I know this just in my own world. Like, we get tunnel vision in our business. We understand what our goals are. We stay hyper focused. We don't necessarily think as much outside of the box of what we could do as an organization. So when someone within the organization throws out an idea that can instantly be a revenue generating idea, well, then that takes off. And next thing you know, you literally have your own business line. And I got one really cool story on that. One of my mentors and his background. So he, back in like the early 2000s, he worked for a publication company. It was the same company that published, publications like Scientific Journal and like things like that,
Yeah.
like big publication company. So the dot-com boom came, right? And publication companies were taking a huge crash. Like, they were on their way to the rock bottom and we're going to be out of business. Well, along the way, they would collect 200 plus pieces of information on businesses in return of a free subscription to one of their magazines. So they would interview you and you would put in all your information. You get the free year subscription showing up at your business, right? And he was like, well, wait a second. We have all this business intelligence, all this data. What if instead of us being a publication company, we became a data company? We could sell that data off as
Yeah.
business insights. So they did that, and that arm grew up to be a $25 million arm of that business, in which he then exited and started his own financial intelligence firm, and brought a couple people with him and grew that business and grew it very successfully and had a massive exit, right? So there's a great example of someone that I personally know that I talk to on a pretty regular basis on how he leveraged being an intrapreneur
Yeah.
to become an entrepreneur and grow out of it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and if you think about it, he could have just ridden that wave and found the next job and like, oh, this business is failing. But instead, he did something different. He used that preneur skill, that problem solving skill to say, I got an idea on how this business can still make revenue, even though the rest of the world is saying publication's dead,
Yeah.
right? So I
It
think
is.
that's an interesting point.
Yeah, that is a great point. It's a great story as well too. I think as like pandemic happens and like it's business, the world can be very unpredictable, but like you as a person having skills can't be like taken away. So
Mhm.
when like opportunities come, because that's what business is. It's like if you're prepared for that opportunity and you have enough skills, and if that like those examples of you like getting your first gig and first job and stuff, it wasn't luck. It was like
Mhm.
you were prepped, you prepared yourself when that opportunity came. So that's a big part of like education. How I like try to provide is like the education. The reason why sometimes we don't have the money is because we're not seeing the opportunity come when it arises. If you prep yourself right, if I'm in shape, if I'm dressed well, and then I go into the interview, into the meeting or whatever and stuff, that likely brings up the chance that it's going to be a success. But if you weren't prepared for a meeting, you didn't work out, you didn't dress well and stuff, and that's what happens. Sometimes we get caught off like flat-footed and stuff, and then we just miss the opportunity, and we're like, what's going on? Like, why is he successful and I'm still here, kind of doing the same thing? Is you're prepping yourself so you could prepare for different pivots. And that story of that guy with the publication and everything is an example of how like he had this mindset that was like, I'm not gonna let this fail. I'm gonna figure it out, figure the fuck out, like FIFO, and then just pivot. Pivot and go into that direction. So it's a constant move of like pivoting until even if you think you're in the right direction, it's still more pivots.
We'll have to bring him on, man. He'll 100% be a guest, and
Yeah, I
he's an
think
awesome dude, super smart, and I think that's going to be part of like what we are going to start. That's what we were talking about, and then we were like, all right, we got to hit record,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is
We could,
like how do we bring on guests, right? And so that boils down to, well, like, we're still figuring out our format, right? And again, like, we've grown together over the course of, now 6 episodes, call it probably in total, we've communicated 7 full hours in total. Like, maybe, like, so like, this is a good
sorry.
example, right? We're living it. We're living it. So we're preneuring right now,
We're
right?
picking.
Yeah. So So I think, there's been a couple folks that have been showing interest. I got a couple people on my Rolodex. I know you got a couple people in your Rolodex that would be a good fit for the podcast. So I think as we continue to grow this, right, like we're looking at like, okay, what is our format? What are we trying to accomplish? We're still figuring that out. I think we got a pretty good idea and we're heading
Yeah.
in the right direction. And now this is the fun part, right? And this is where I think like a lot of us all struggle, which is how do you boil down that information. My little one just woke up. What's up, buddy? Okay, go ask mommy. She's in bed. Okay, go with mommy. Daddy's in a meeting. It's my 3-year-old man. But he just woke up. But yeah, I mean, I think we're at the point with this where we're trying to figure out like our format across this, and this is the fun part, right? Which is boiling down all of these words into very concise sentences, right? So like, how do we get through our intro in 30 seconds that encapsulates everything that we're doing? It's a difficult task. A lot of people struggle with that. I still struggle with that with my business. How do we get through, what is the gist of the storyline, right? If we think about, if you even think about like pick any, well watched, it could be Walking Dead, it could be Game of Thrones, whatever the case is. If you watch those episodes, this follows a very similar framework over and over and over again. We get used to that. We like that. That's why we come back for it, right? So we got the schedule, which is great. I think the mission is great in the release in the sense that, like, okay, people that will listen to this on a Monday are going to hear our story,
Say
be
the
pumped up.
and so it's to help raise the collective vibration.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the mission. It's cool. It's cutting edge. It's mysterious, but it's a good message of like helping raise people's vibration. As in, like for me, it's like I'm extremely productive when my vibrations are high. When I'm feeling great and like ready to attack the day and feeling grateful and everything. Um, but yeah, that's the mission. Always remind
Yeah.
everything. You
So
know.
we got to bake that into the intro, right? Like FIFO, we're here to raise a collective vibration. We're doing that on, post through Monday and Friday, get you started for the week, recap the week. And in the process, we're doing it ourselves. And then a quick reminder of like where we came from, right?
Yeah.
So there it is, right? So but yeah, I think we're getting close to the point that we could bring on some guests. And then we'll just have to tee up some questions for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting place. So that brings me to kind of my next topic for today, which is we set a goal for ourselves on Monday,
Yeah.
and here we are on Friday, and we were going to circle up on it. And this is like, I don't really want to talk about this because I'm not going to lie, I failed in my end. Um,
Dude, to be
but this is
like you coaching me and me coaching you, I'm starting to understand like because my life is the same because I'm trying to get TikTok up and running and trying to use the whole hook value and ass. I think that was the
payoff. Yep, hook value
right
payoff.
hook value payoff, and I'm thinking like I'm it's mental bandwidth that you're trying to change. And I was like, I'm struggling with it as well too. So it took me like a whole week to put up a TikTok.
Dude, it's all good. And like, it's funny is I was cursing your name. So I did one 45-minute workout this
Yeah,
week. One. Not five, one.
come on.
And I was cursing your name. And like the most positive way, right? But like I was cursing your name because I started the workout and I'm like, okay, like got a pump on. I did back and biceps.
You got a pump?
I got a little, I mean, a pump.
You got
I
pump?
got like a basketball pump. So, but
You gotta get pumped.
but yeah, dude. I mean, let's see. We got it's
I,
a little hump there. It's not
I,
flattened.
it's coming.
It's coming. But yeah, so it's funny, dude. Like on Monday, I did do a 45-minute workout routine, and like I said, about 5-10 minutes into it, I'm like, well, now what the fuck do I do?
Yeah,
Like, I didn't know what to do, and I'm like, God damn it, Sam! Now you gave me 45 minutes. Like, why didn't you tell me like do this one thing. Like, this is so big, like, and then like, but what was funny is then I started like, okay, well, maybe I could like remember some different back exercises. So I started doing different back exercises. And then I was like, well, I'll do some core. And then I did some stretching. And I did a couple yoga poses. And I was like, and then I ended up filling up the 45 minutes. So by the end of the 45 minutes, I was like, cool, I did it.
There you
But
go.
then it was like, when am I going to get time to do this again, man? Like, this is a lot. This is a commitment. So what did happen though, ironically, is so I've had sciatica. I've been dealing with sciatica. Um, my body, my back is fucked. Like, I've had 7 surgeries from snowboarding, and I started going to the chiropractor,
Mm-hmm.
which is another one that I think would be a good fit for the podcast, and you'll resonate because he's a bodybuilder,
Oh yeah.
jacked motherfucker. Like, he's a good dude, smart guy, young doctor, with his chiropractic practice. So I went to meet him, and I got my first ever adjustment. I've never had a chiropractic adjustment before. I was literally like, every pop that he did, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it
Yeah.
was freaking me out. But I learned that my body posture is really out of whack. My
Yeah.
head sits 2.5 inches forward.
Yeah.
So like, I constantly am like this, like, you can even see it, right? So I'm like, I'm working towards pulling the shoulders back, which part of that problem of me trying to build an upper body is if I'm constantly in this guarded position, I'm not able to effectively work out. So even though I didn't complete 45 minutes of working out every single day, I did sign up with the chiropractor. So I'm going to him. I got a back brace to
Nice.
start to work on my posture. And I'm talking with him as far as like my routine and getting myself back into it. So I committed to that, which was a huge monetary commitment, and I wasn't quite prepared to do it at the time. But I was like, you know what? This is going to be the catalyst. I'm going to start doing this. So, and this is something that I think is important, and just like even what you've done, right? And part of these goal setting missions. My buddy Will, another good guy I'll have to bring on at some point. He brought up a really cool point, right? So he did this pull up challenge or push up challenge, something like that.
Yeah.
10,000 push ups in a month. And I'm like, dude, like, that's ridiculous. It's like over 300 push ups a day. Like, there's just no way. And he was like, Danny, the point is to set a goal you can't achieve, but work towards it and then keep pushing yourself. If your goal is achievable every single time, then it's not a big enough goal.
Right.
I'm
Right.
like, okay, I can kind of get that.
Right.
Um, so what was interesting is in that process, even this week, it was a big goal for me to do 45 minutes a day. Like, that's a big commitment, and I'm not quite there yet. But because of that goal, I got one workout in, and I did figure out like what to do with that time,
Yeah.
because now I was just focused on working out. I didn't record it aside from like a quick story of like, I'm doing it. But like, I really focused in on what I could do with my body. And then I committed to fixing my posture and fixing my back and fixing my body with the chiropractor.
Nice.
So that goal triggered a new path, a new Danny. Like, I am
Yeah.
a new person now that I'm going through that, and I'm committed to it. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then conversely with you, the goal of the hook value payoff framework,
Uh-huh.
you started your TikTok
I
and
did.
you did get one under, right?
I did.
So,
Um.
like, that's it, dude. It's and that's sometimes we got to celebrate the small wins
Yeah.
and then push ourselves to go on to the next, right? But so it's not a total failure. I think we both accomplished something little, and I think it's something important for people to realize when you set goals for yourself. The trick is to continually chip away every single day towards that progress, even if it's something little and you're not achieving the full goal.
Yeah.
Not to sit there and say that like, oh, I did it and I'm Mr. Great, but to say that I'm working on it, I'm a human being and everything isn't going to be perfect all the time. But just not to commit the second failure, which is to just give up.
Yeah. Dude, I'm proud of you, man. The 45 minutes. And I mean, really, the exercise is for you to, like FIFO, to figure it out. Like, you have barbells, you have dumbbells. Like, if you don't have any exercises and stuff, like, really is like part of like when I coach and stuff, it's just so simple. Like yesterday, I was coaching somebody and he didn't know how to get clients and all stuff. And it was like, do you read any business books? And he was like, no, I need to do more of that. And I was like, yeah, there you go, right? But it's so simple, right? But the act of like doing it, like even I struggled. It took me a whole week to get the TikTok account. I knew I wanted to get the TikTok account because you were talking about it. And like when I went to the barber this guy, he was talking about TikTok, and like shit, it's lining up. But so what's gonna happen is like that that tension's gonna come up, and then it's like you're buying a BMW, and then all you see is like BMWs on the street. It's like that bringing up
Yep.
just awareness. Like, okay, now that I can do 45 minutes of like working out and stuff, I was creative enough, I was resourceful enough, and then also this stemmed into something uh, like fixing my posture, because when you work out and stuff, that brings awareness to just your body, your physical body itself too. So like
Hmm.
when just talking about like I picked up yoga. Like I've never done yoga before, but I picked up yoga because I was so uh, physically like in my body. Like bodybuilding requires a lot of attention to like certain areas and stuff. So when I started doing yoga, I didn't realize I was doing yoga. I just did it. Somebody was coaching me through it, and I was like, oh, I basically was translating what I was doing to yoga and stuff too. So that the points that you're bringing up was like fantastic. Is like the 45 minutes. It's not about, yeah, it's gonna suck. Like me putting like stuff on TikTok, and like the mental bandwidth that we're
Yeah.
all coming from step A to like step B. That's where the coaches just like keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, and then when you get to there, there's gonna be another
Yeah.
another.
Then it doesn't end. It just keeps going.
It's
Yeah,
just
exactly, man.
really, so I guess us as coaches talking about it, like there's not really a destination. So it's just like as long as you're just moving and doing something, you eventually refine it and make it better and everything. So like I'm not so pressed on like with like my TikTok that I put up. Literally, I put out one TikTok and it was just like an intro video of just saying, "Hey, I'm working on TikTok." It got 800 views, and I had like no followers already. I think I had like 9 followers. And I was like, "Huh,
It was the Riz, right? You did the
yeah."
Riz. I liked it.
I'm just gonna start saying like really random stuff and then see how it goes. Because my friend was coaching me. Another friend of mine was just like, "You got a good personality. Just do it."
Well, dude, there's something to be said about that, right? Like, especially on like, and that's the beauty of like getting onto social platforms that you don't have a following and like you don't rely on for business, or that you're just trying.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of it, is you can just try new things. Like you can experiment there, right? And feel free and like give yourself the permission to look stupid. Give yourself the permission to fail. Give yourself permission to suck.
yeah,
Like even if you think about what we're doing right now with the podcast, we would have a very different tone, I believe, if we had 1 million people consuming this content every day that we release it, right? Like it inevitably we're going to put more mental bandwidth into that. It just is what it is once you have the audience, because at that point we've grown to some place that we have to like start to cater towards that. Now that doesn't mean that you change who we are as a core or like our values. That's not what I'm saying, but you genuinely become like more aware of what people are enjoying, what they're not enjoying, and we've learned a lot, right? So it's the same concept when you're in a new platform, like even what we're doing now. Like we don't have a huge audience. Like we have a handful of folks that are starting to consume this, which is awesome, and like super appreciative of people that are listening to it. But it allows us to experiment and to try things, right? And it gives us the permission to suck. Like not every one of these episodes isn't going to be like the gold mine, right, of treasure trove of knowledge that's going to change the world. But throughout time, and us just doing it over and over and over again, showing up, just keep showing up, who knows, maybe one day one of our messages will impact the world in a very positive manner, right? And it's the same concept when you're on TikTok. So like it's when you're on these new platforms, you're free to just suck and have fun and like and try
yeah,
things, right? And that's the trick, is just keep trying it. So if it's, maybe you find out that like your angle of it is like bodybuilder dancing with his two little girls, right? And like who knows how it ends up panning out for you, but it'll all start to make sense and start to come back to your core brand and what you do.
yeah,
I do the same thing on Twitter, right? So I have a Twitter handle, 0 followers, and the way that I treat my Twitter is if I get an idea that pops in my head, it could be right
no,
before I fall to sleep. Yeah, just the public note, right? Public note taking, just like jot it down in a tweet. And like if you go through my Twitter thread, you'll see just a laundry list of all of my ideas and thoughts. It could be a new business idea. It could be an idea for content. It could be something that I feel like an idea about stuff that's going on in the world. Um, but like that's how I treat it, and like I don't worry about the following, and I don't worry about the like that being my next big platform that I'm going to expand on. I do it more of just the sheer act of doing it over and over and over again. And as it tends, and then like it will grow.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's like ultimately it will grow as you put out more content, and people will start to find you, and people will start to want to consume your content, and then it starts to refine back and become this thing. And I think that that's so important that most people don't realize. And what like the beauty of our message, right, is like if you just start
Yeah.
start solving the problem,
I
and
the creativity will come. That's what I was worried too. I was like, how am I gonna do this? Hard things and stuff. I was like, if you move towards like a path, people will join you and stuff. So if there's anybody that I believe that we're already changing lives and stuff. So that's how I speak. When I chat, it's very like powerful. I was talking. Oh, I do want to share something that I found very insightful, and all the stuff that you say is very insightful as well too. It's like the emotion of like gratitude. I'm extremely grateful that I have this platform that you're here helping me spread and scale the message and everything, right? Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude that's here. But something we got to be grateful for the things that are going to be coming towards us, right? Like whatever that we want. If we want to be a millionaire, like just that you put it out there in the air, that's in the universe now. So it's in
mm-hmm.
the air, right? So it's like now, like while we're talking and brainstorming, it's like shit. We just said this shit, right? So it's like being grateful for the things that are going to come as well too, and being creative at the aspect of like that emotion helps think of different ideas. And that's part I think what our podcast is like. If you're trying to get into the entrepreneur space, the personal development space, the fitness space, and everything, and just enhancing your lives and stuff, it's not like we're taking away from our lives. To me, it's like we're enhancing our lives. We're trying to enhance the other lives of other people as well too. I think our mission is great. I'm excited for like jumping on the podcast, so like you guys can see my excitement and stuff to share stories and stuff, and ideas.
100%. And I think that brings like maybe we should throw out this topic for today, because you mentioned it earlier, as far as like the value prop, the pain, right, of our growth, and like where we're at today, and what brought us there. So I got a story that's also hyper relevant to what you just said, as far as like manifestation and having a positive outlook and like putting things out there. So there was a moment, and this is like one of my like scariest moments, but also one of my biggest successes, right? So
Yeah.
my wife and I were traveling in the RV. At that point, I was doing this kind of like solopreneur, freelance kind of like marketing agency, which it was just me. And I was reliant on getting on different clients and new clients to fund our life. So my wife and I ended in Cookeville, Tennessee. All right. If you don't know where Cookeville is, just outside of Nashville. So we're in the RV, and we found this winery that would let us park for free. So we went there for a couple nights. We got to park for free. So we're posted up in Cookeville at this winery, and I was like looking at our accounts, and I mean, we were dead broke. We were down to like our last like $100. And mind you, I had myself, my wife, my dog, and our firstborn, who was like 2 months old, and we were running low on diapers. And here we are in this little tin can RV, middle of Cookeville, Tennessee, and no clue on how we're going to leave. No clue on, and we had to be, and within a week, we had to be in Ocean City, Maryland, because we were visiting my family, and they had got us an RV spot there to stay, and we were going to stay there for a month. So, but to do that meant that I needed to get at a minimum $300, because that was what it cost at that time to fill up the RV to travel. RV was empty, no gas, right? And we're like, shit, what do we do? So first we needed more time. We had to solve for time. We needed to have more time in that spot, and we were supposed to be out of that spot that day. So what I did is I went up to the winery, and I found the owner of the winery, And remind you, like I had this whole video creation thing that I was doing too. So I said, hey, look, if you guys let us park for 1 week, I will do I'll film like a 1.5 minute kind of highlight reel of your winery and
Mm,
get you guys an edit.
like a
And they're
commercial.
like, done. Yeah, commercial. Done. So I did that. Right. And we filmed the winery. It was awesome. It was a cool video. They still have it up on their site. And they knew the owners of the local brewery, which is called Red Silo Brewing in Cookeville. And they're like, you should go talk to those guys. So we went, my wife and I, with our last $100. We sat at the bar. We both ordered one of their beers. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the guy next to me. And mind you, prior to this, my wife is like kind of freaking out. I'm secretly freaking out, but I have to keep my composure for my family. And we're like both like, we're stuck. Like, we don't know what to do. And I was like, look, honey, it will fix itself. We will get through this. We will solve this. This is not the end of the Marawinski family and like what we're doing. Like, we will solve this. It's all good. And she's like, okay. So I was like, just put it positively in the ether. We're going to succeed. So we go to the brewery. I'm sitting there sipping our beers, and I start talking to the guy next to me and just start general conversation, not a sales pitch, nothing like that. Didn't even know who he was. Just casually, oh, what do you do? What do you do? So as I explained what I did, he goes, oh, I'm the co-founder and chief marketing officer of the brewery. I'm like, no way. And he was like, yeah, my big problem is we don't have a website.
Mm,
And I'm like, no shit. Well, we build websites. Like I can do that. And he's like, yeah, like every time I talk to somebody about building a website, they want like a minimum of $10,000 and I just can't justify spending $10,000.
right.
And I was like, I'll do it for 2,000. And he was like, sold. So the next day, I go out and I meet with him and we talk about what's going to be on the website. Meanwhile, I also throw in like, hey, I'm also going to do this video content for you for no cost,
Right, right. That's
right? And he's like, done. So literally the next day, he strokes us a check for $2,000, our
nice.
ticket out of there. So I was like, both my wife and I like were elated. We couldn't believe it. That like it worked, right? That was our ticket. That was enough money to get us across the country, get diapers, things like that. And now I had this new client and this new work. It turns out that they happen to be the number one brewery in all of Tennessee. Like their beer was in like the Nashville Predators, like hockey team is like their like beer. It was all a cool story. Really cool guys. We got their website live, did the video content. They loved it all. The website's still live that we built for them. And, that got us across the country. So like there's a great moment where like everything was looking like we should have stopped.
Yeah,
And like the normal person would have told us, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, go get a job. Why are you risking this for your family? Like you're literally running out of gas. I didn't have any RV hookups, like we couldn't buy diapers. Like a lot of people would say that we were being very irresponsible with our lives at that time. And I felt like we were like, I felt like a failure in that moment, but I refused to succumb to being a quote unquote failure. And I refused to adopt that we're never going to get out of this situation. Instead, it was, we're going to figure it out.
yeah,
We're going to solve this problem. This is not the end of us. This is just the beginning. And
man.
I'll never forget that moment in my life, man. And that accelerated us to the next phase of our journey.
Yeah, that's an inspiring story, man. I appreciate you sharing that with like our audience. Those stuff, that's what's like. That's what people need to hear. Like their entrepreneurship and just being creative. It could take you to places where like it's gonna push you to be creative, to become something that you haven't become before and stuff. Putting this podcast out together. I haven't spoke in public for like this length of time, so it's pushing me beyond my boundaries as well too. And I think stories that the underdog stories always resonates a lot with like the audience and everything. And that story was like, man, super inspiring because I know like I took a fairly safe route. I think other entrepreneurs take a little bit more of a riskier route. So there's different perspective, and sharing these stories of like the struggles and the lows and everything is good. I think how I got like kind of getting my first gig, it really started like just shooting photos with like I got like a new camera and just started posting on my Facebook, and then somebody was like, "Dude, can you shoot my high school graduation photos?" And I was like, "Sure." I didn't know what to charge, and I was like, 60. And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh shit, $60 an hour." Of course, I had to like travel and like do the editing stuff. So, but it's like just doing stuff creates like opportunities, and stories really resonate, like especially the underdog story. And I promise you, I've been meditating. I gotta tell my underdog story too. So
Yeah.
we have a few minutes before we end
Yeah,
up.
man, I want to hear it. Let's do it.
I
Like, what's
This is the underdog story. This is like my Rocky story. So it involves like when I was like in high school when I was wrestling. So I played two sports. I played football and then I wrestled. I wrestled sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. So this was like my sophomore year, and I was wrestling. This is like only my second year of wrestling, and wrestling is a grueling sport. It's probably one of the hardest sports that nobody like really like. It's not popular. It's played in the winter. The practices are like 2 hours, and they're like in 100-degree rooms, and it's terrible. I don't know why I decided I wanted to join. Just something like naturally attracted me because it was like very hard and like grueling. But the thing is, like, I was a terrible wrestler too. I think when we were back at our reunion stuff, I caught up with some of our wrestling teammates, and we were just talking about how much it sucked. It was terrible. Like it would be like this cold. We'd be in the wrestling room, 100 degrees, while everybody's just kind of like relaxing. But so I'm kind of painting the picture. So it's like my junior year, and near the end of the season, as we wrestle, we get towards districts. So we're starting to play or we're starting to wrestle as a team with like schools that are within our district. So we were matched up to go against Robinson. Robinson is our like rival high school. So some are like Lake
yeah?
Braddock and Robinson were two of the biggest schools in like Fairfax County or whatever our district. So the rest of that I was wrestling this guy. I can say his name. His name was Mike Vachon. This dude was a stud.
I remember Mike Vachon, dude. He was a beast.
Yeah, he was a beast, right? And he looked like
Yeah.
he was like this most beautiful person too. Like he had golden curly locks, tan, like athletic. He even had friends on like our wrestling team. So it was like a Friday night. The whole week, everybody knew that I was gonna be wrestling this guy. I had no fucking chance of beating this guy. This is like my second year wrestling. So, and I think he's been wrestling like since like he was like 8 years old. But like the year prior, I think he got like second or third to the state. So like this guy was like headed to win like the state championship. So I was fairly nervous, but I didn't know that guy, so I was like, "Fuck it, I don't care." So some like my teammates like Brent, Ben Anderson, Dirk, they're all like hyping me up. Like when you play on like a team, you have like teammates that like just like hype you up and stuff. So like still no chance. Come like the night uh we have our match. Robinson's kicking our ass. They're kicking our ass. Like we have some really good wrestlers and some good teammates. They win their matches, but like we're just getting like handled. So it's like getting up to like my turn to like everybody in the locker room was like, dude, let's go. We got this, right? I had no fucking chance of beating this guy. So in my head, I'm like, look, I'm just gonna do my best.
I'm gonna survive.
But I always had like this warrior mindset where like I'm not gonna fucking back down. So we start wrestling, and this guy is absolutely skilled, like fast as shit, uh, athletic. Like I couldn't catch him, but like I was trying to doing takedowns. I wasn't backing down or anything. But every time I take down, he'll do a reversal. He'll take me down and everything. So like I think we're going to like the second round, and it's he's beating me, but like 0 to like 9, and I can hear in his corner his coach is like, finish him or like pin him, right? Because when you get a pin in wrestling, you get more points for the team. So I'm like, fuck this shit, right? So I start going in defense, and like he's trying to pin me, and it goes into like the second or third round, but he ends up beating me, but he never pins me, right? So I go the distance with him, but he beats me by technicality. So he got 15 points and I had 0 points. So he basically beat me. But at the end of the match, the referee like raised his hand and he was like really upset that he couldn't pin me. And then I was
Dude.
here, I lost, and like I was going back to like my sidelines with my teammates and everything. Everybody's like, "Yo, what the fuck was that?" And like the whole team gave me like a nickname. It was the coach was like, "That's the secret weapon," and that name stuck until the end of the wrestling season. But that shows you like the you could win even when you lose, and that was like one of my like biggest Rocky story, and I haven't told it, but that was like something that's always like stood in my head where like, you know what, even if you like, wrestling is a grind. I didn't win any. I didn't have a I wrestled 3 seasons. I didn't have a winning season all three of them, but that built a ground like foundation for like just grit, like be able to stick to something like over and over, even when it sucks, even when like you're losing and stuff. Those stories, those things that you do like when you're working out and it fucking sucks, knowing that you just got through it and stuff.
Just don't get pinned.
Yeah, don't get pinned, and people will support you even if you lose, even if you think you lose.
Well, that's just it. Like, and that's such I love that story, man. And like, that is extremely inspiring as well. And like, it's so true though. Like, and did you lose? You know, like think about that. Like,
Yeah,
did you actually lose or did you win? Because okay, so you lost on technicality. You know, technically you lost the match. Got that. But at the end of the day, did Sam Nang actually lose? Because it
yeah,
doesn't sound like you did. If anything, it sounds like you won in the sense of growth. And you hit a goal, which was not get pinned. And granted, you're wrestling the state champ, like, or future state champ, right? So like I think that that's such a great story as far as like all these things that we set ourselves up with goals, right? And bring it back full circle even to our goals, me working out for 45 minutes, you doing the hook value or the hook value payoff format, right? At the
yeah,
end of the day, did we get it totally done? No. But did we actually lose? No, because if the way that we would have lost, like for both of us, is to say, you know what, dude, I'm not going to work out.
yeah.
Period.
That's true.
That's a loss. Or for you to be like, you know what, dude, I'm not, I'm done. I'm done with this TikTok. I'm not going to push myself to do it.
Yeah,
That would be a loss, right? But instead, it was like the trick was just don't get pinned in the process of doing this, right? Same thing in my story, right? Don't get pinned in the sense of like get to your point where like I have to call mom and dad to help me get the fuck out of there, right? Or somebody like please give me money, like don't get pinned, right?
yeah,
So you know, I think that that's the part of it, man, and that's the driving force behind a lot of this stuff, right? Whether it's personal development, whether it's business and entrepreneurship, you know, whatever the case is, we have to have that grit mentality like you had, which is like I'm just not going to stop playing. And give yourself the permission to fail along the way, knowing that you're just like you're not going to stop
yeah.
and you're going to keep working on it every single day until you get there. And the day will come when we hop up on this podcast and you're gonna be like, "Damn, Danny!" And like, I'm not gonna have these little pipe cleaners anymore. You know, like the day will come, and like I'm gonna. This is a live documentation of it. Like I put my hand up, you'll see
we
it.
we
Eh,
both are physically manifesting whatever we're doing here. I think Danny's like I think the good thing about good friendships is that we can influence each other. I think in
Right.
great friendships is that of course you're not gonna be perfectly, you can't be Danny's Danny, I'm Sam Nang and stuff, but the influence is a big part and you have to understand that as well too. Even like in good marriages, good relationships, the influence on each other is important when you're creating relationships and connections. Even when you have clientels or coaching and stuff, like if you could tell if you're working with somebody, you don't have the influence and they're not listening to you, the relationship really just doesn't go anywhere and everything. And you be able to like resonate and summarize it and put it in your own words and how you see it, because stories resonate with people. When you read books, when you hear stories of like inspiring people and everything, you probably have stories like that as well too, where you were down in the dumps and just like had to pull yourself out. That's the
So
reason
many.
why podcast is because I want to tell everybody how low I got and how high I got and inspire you guys because I've been doing it for a long time and I have like a lot of stories and stuff too.
And that's just it, man. And like that becomes like without those you wouldn't be the man that you are today, right? And like I think that that's so many people that are going through hard times that may be listening to this that are struggling with some aspect of their life. You know, don't get down on yourself. Recognize like this is your future story. You're
Yeah,
going through your future story right now. And it's such a great place to be in as much as it sucks because once you do crest the field where things start to get better and you hit that higher vibration and that higher frequency in your life, you will have that story that is now of the thing that sucks.
yeah,
Wife left you, going through divorce, lost custody of your kids, whatever it is, whatever the story is, lost your job, whatever we're going through, financial pressure, this right now, you will be able to share in the future of how you overcome that. And just the trick is just don't get pinned. I
yeah.
love that, man. Don't get pinned.
Pin, yeah. I mean, I love it, man. It's really like you said on your thing. It's like the narrative, and it's a real big part of like we all have stories, and some people have weak stories, but you could also rechange that story to become very powerful. And the things like with my coaching and stuff is to really have like a powerful mindset, taking those losses and stuff. Losses adds up to wins. As long as you look at it and narrate it correctly. So I always the reason why I watch movies and read books now it's one is to or to be inspired, and that helps me create to write my own story as well too. And part of the podcast, that's why I love it so much, is that we could create this narrative, you know, however we want. I could come in here and tell you I didn't meet my goals of community members or anything, but we got community members in there, you know.
Yeah,
So it's like it's the way how like you could actually just shift the story a little bit, and that's becoming a good storyteller is part of the process and everything. But that's that's it, man. I think we're near the end of our time limit. We want
that's it, man. Yeah. So let's wrap it up with this. So here's your task for the weekend,
yeah,
and then I got an idea for me, but I want you to tell me what I need to do through the weekend too.
yeah, yeah.
So your task for the weekend, okay, is to create 3 TikToks.
Wait, 3 TikToks. Okay, I can do.
That's it. 3 TikToks using the hook value payoff framework. That's
When
it.
so the payoff, would the payoff be like follow me or like because you like
No, the payoff is answering the hook. So and think of the hook like this. So let's
yeah,
use that example, like your story of not getting pinned. Like this could even be one of your stories, right?
yeah,
The trick in life is just to never get pinned. That's the hook.
that's the
Then you cut to the value. I grew up wrestling in high school, and I had to wrestle the state champ.
hmm
Everybody knew that they were going to beat me. So I went into it with one mission, one goal, which was not to get pinned.
right. Okay,
I completed the match. I didn't get pinned. And now moving forward in my life, I'm extremely proud of that, even though I took the loss. So the trick is never get pinned, right? So there's the payoff. So the hook is never get pinned in life, right? Or you can frame that as a question. Um, that's the hook. The value is the story. The payoff is answering the hook. And as soon as you answer the hook, which is never like because I didn't get pinned, I'm now, X, Y, or Z in my life.
okay,
You end the video right there.
right.
You don't go on and on and on. So
I like
a really simple way, another way to think of it is like want to make $100 right now, right? So like there's the hook. The value would be get online, start a coaching thing, sell this skill, da da da, and publish it over here for $100, and you'll make $100 today,
yeah.
right? Like a stupid example, but the payoff is how that is accomplished, right? The hook is what is it? Like the question, the intriguing part. It could be a statement, it could be a question. The value is the story. the payoff is answering the original hook,
All right.
giving that knowledge back, giving that nugget of information back.
All right. I think I got it. Coach Danny, Coach,
That's it.
my social media coach. Call you
So
the
what about me? What am I what do I got to do for these next 3 days? Knowing that 45 minutes a day is the goal here, and like getting swole. What do I
45
got to do?
45 minutes a day, and you just work out your house, right?
Yep.
And you got sunny Florida. What's the weather outside?
It's like 70-ish,
Okay, so
sunny.
it's not like 30 degrees or anything.
No, dude, I'm soft now. I'm living the beach life.
All right, so for you, I want you to get outside and do something outside as well to just get creative. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be jogging, stretching out on your lawn, 45 minutes out there. So now I'm just trying to help you to get a little bit more creativity in like your programming, because a lot of reason why sometimes people don't really continue on working out is because it's boring, it's redundant and everything. So helping you stretch out to be a little bit more creative. Maybe do one indoor workout, 45 minutes, kind of what you've done before, but the next one will be outdoors. So now you're getting a little bit of vitamin D, a little bit of oxygen. You do a little bit of spiritual grounding and stuff. Do it without your shoes, whatever it is. You could do whatever you want, but just be creative with it, and then just let me know. And then the other, so you got tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah, and then do another workout. Maybe involve your family or your wife with
Okay.
the 45 minutes. So incorporating it into your lifestyle is a good strategy instead of actually like, sometimes, oh, I got to go and pack and go drive the car, go to the gym, and then do the same thing. Those are obstacles. What we're trying to do sometimes is trying to eliminate some obstacles that are in our way, where you could actually just be like, all right, I'm gonna go work out in my living room. Like my example is I push my couches to the side, so there's a big open space. I was like, this is perfect for like stretching or dancing or whatever. I do some dances in the morning and stuff to get like hyped. But creativity and like your space, right around you, it's not necessarily like you have to go to the gym and go to the gym 5-6 times a week. Even I get tired of going to the gym that many times, so I have to do creative stuff like outside in the backyard. I'll just do some stretching or just jog in place.
I
So
love it, man.
yeah,
I'm down. So Saturday I'll do an outdoor routine, and then Sunday I'll incorporate the family into it. I love it, man. I
yeah,
love that. All
I
right,
good.
cool, man. Well, we'll sync up on Monday, and yeah, for everybody else, FIFO. This is what we're about. Standing, man.
And 4 p.m. FIFO. Awesome. I'm so happy.
Yep. All right, brother. I will. We'll chat again on Monday. Have a
Okay.
great weekend.
All right. Same to you, buddy. Talk to you
See
soon.
ya. Cool.